Welcome back to Sticks and Bones podcast, and a special welcome to our Patreon members, the realms of the underworld. We are in August. Summer is almost over. How are you doing, 10?
Well, a deep apology to everybody because we are not on video today,
No,
and
we're
that's
not.
because 10 is 30 and 30 claps back
I told
because
you.
I have been an athlete my whole life, and I am no stranger to getting injured, but you expect to get hurt doing things. But man, you knock on 30's door, you're entering 30. Welcome. And I don't know what happened today. All of a sudden, I just worked out this morning perfectly fine and then got out of a chair wrong and pulled my back. So,
I feel you. I told 10 this yesterday. I pulled my Achilles heel. Not to have a pun or anything, because we're talking about Greek mythology today, but I was like, have I been punished?
Chelsea literally
What's
held up her foot on FaceTime and was like, "It hurts here." And I was like, "That's your Achilles. Are
Yep.
you okay?"
Shout out Achilles. Shout out Achilles. Yeah, I have not been at yoga for 2 weeks because it really hurts and I'm afraid I'm going to tear it. And that's not an injury I want to have. So I'm limping, hobbling around my house. So the girls are injured.
Oh my god! Earlier,
Girls are injured.
Kevin was like, "Oh my god, you need a rest," and I was like, "Okay." And I was getting up because I wanted to munch on some cookies. And he's like, "Oh, you're walking fine." And I was like, "Oh, well, then the Academy Award goes to me for Best Actress because it feels like I'm walking with a stick up my butt." Like,
I completely get that. Yeah, but I too will act like I'm okay for cookies. Like I will get up for cookies.
I'll hobble for some cookies.
Yeah, I will hobble for some cookies. Well, I guess we'll just talk about what's going on in our life. I spent some time in New Jersey last weekend and I went to the Italian deli by me, the
Ooh,
delicacy store, and I got all of the
cookies.
Italian cookies before coming
Oh,
back to PA. And I have to say, I've been enjoying in the afternoon having some coffee and three beautiful cookies and just no phone, just vibes, just sitting there with I have beautiful mugs that I bought for myself. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. I am living in the middle of Pennsylvania with just my nice tea and my cookies.
this is how you know you've made it is cookie time.
This is delicacy. But yeah, I'll run for cookies. I will do that.
I was having a crawl for cookies today, so
I know. Well, anyway, apologies. We're not on video. Also, apologies. We've been gone for a whole month, basically, to the world. We haven't been gone on Patreon,
nope.
but we ended last episode being like, and see it in 2 weeks for Saints. It came time to record the Saints episode, and we were like, no,
No.
we need some time off.
Yeah, we need a break. It's hot. The girls are sweaty. I don't think I want to be sweaty and talking about Saints.
No, it's been like a heat wave here, and then I just really needed some time off. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't hear myself speak one more time on a podcast. I can't look at myself anymore. I can't edit another social media post. I cannot do one more thing. Me and Ten were like, I'm so sick and tired of myself. Prepared to be sick of me.
I was like, if I have to hear my fucking voice one more
Can't
time,
do it.
I'm gonna strangle myself. It's hard enough because you have to be. I mean, you have to be yourself, so you have to hear yourself talk all day long, and then you just hear it on social media, and you're like, oh my god, you breathy bitch! Like,
Shut
god
up.
damn.
Someone give this girl a muzzle. Are you guys just not sick of us? I was really upset I couldn't because we were gonna do this amazing episode about Saints and we moved it to another week and another time, in another month. We're gonna come back to it. But I was like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't record today. So anyway, we've had some nice time off from the podcast. So we've been very heavy on Patreon, and don't worry. We just because we've been missing doesn't mean, the girls aren't cooking up something or working because we
Girls
just
are
have to
never
fill that time with other stuff.
the girls are never not working. If it's if it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not editing social media, it's ripping through our book club just so we can get on and just rant for an hour about our deepest thoughts about
Um,
Cersei.
Literally, yes. And we'll talk about book club 1 second. I just have to make a point.
Mhm.
So we posted the first half of the Cersei book club. And like speaking of Helios today, who is Cersei's father, and he's a main character in the Cersei book.
Mhm.
This is like aligned perfectly. I we didn't even plan this. We have
Yeah,
not
no.
planned this. We weren't even gonna do Cersei this month, but anyway, it aligns. For those of you that are in book club, and if we didn't release part 2 yet, I have changed my opinions about the Cersei book when I got to the second half of it, but that's for Patreon only, so I'm not gonna tell you what it is. You gotta join Patreon, in the middle or highest tier. But what do we have going on for a book club, 10? What is going on?
Well, for the girly pops of August, we are finishing part 2 of Cersei, which is chapters 14 through 26. And we recommend, or at least Chelsea and I recommend, that you watch our part 1 and read part 1, take a break, take a breather, watch our video, comment, tell us what you think, maybe disagree with us because I kind of hope that there's some discourse because
Me too.
I don't know, like we came out firing with that. Like some of those were like scorching takes.
We like to
And
give scorching takes. I mean, I don't care.
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, and I'm going to leave it at that. So we recommend that. I am taking a few days off to digest all of it and then power through the second half. Chelsea has already read part 2,
It's
so I
good.
know good things are coming. But yes, part 2 is coming this month on Patreon. Don't have a date of when it's going to be up, but it will be on chapters 14 through 26. And then if you've already blown through Song of Achilles, if you've already gotten through Cersei, the next book on file, let me pull up my notes. The next retelling Chelsea and 10 are doing is Medusa's Sisters by Lauren J.A. Bear. And Chelsea and I had been talking about, what retellings do we want to focus on because, there's so many out there and we wanted to do more of a mythical historical approach, not like a new kind of setting and everything. Like those are good, but not really for what we're looking for on Patreon. So we were like, you know what? We could do Medusa, but let's take a really different approach. So
Mhm.
we were going through a lot of the books, and then this new book had come out, and we're like, let's give it a try because it's about her sisters. And I'm really interested to see what it's going to be about.
Well, the reason why we chose this one is because it's about her sisters also getting involved with the gods. And a lot of the Medusa retellings are the Roman Ovid retelling of like
Yeah.
her situation with Poseidon and her being a priestess to Athena, which isn't the original Greek myth. And I will direct you back to our episode on Medusa that we did a long time ago here on Sticks and Bones, talking about the actual ancient Greek myth. It's also a retelling that people can relate to. We love it, but it's not the real myth. It's not the original myth of Medusa. And we were like, I don't want to take that approach because one, it's a super triggering topic. And two,
Yeah.
I'm tired of that retelling. I want to talk about something different. And everyone always forgets about her sister. So they
Yeah.
always forget about that's Medusa, and she has two other sisters as well. So
Yeah. She was just the mortal one. Like her sisters were immortal. So, like, let's talk about that.
yeah, so I'm excited. It's actually really funny. I was in Barnes and Nobles today because I'm telling you guys, the second half of Cersei left me so like I need to keep reading these retellings because I am just gobbling it up because I am enjoying book club so much. Me and Ted are getting on the phone in the morning before book club filming and like freaking out to each other about these retellings. And it's like I haven't been this excited about something book wise in a while where I can share it with all my friends, like
Probably since Twilight.
yeah, I really feel like I'm having a lot of fun. So I went to Barnes& and Nobles and I was like, "Oh my god, do not read another retelling. You have to save it for Patreon. Don't do it." So I'm holding back for you guys. Holding back.
Truly, truly, you're holding back a saint.
I'm trying, but I was like, Cersei, I couldn't put it down when I was eating my dinner yesterday, the second half, and I was like, I need something to fill this gaping hole in my heart of like, what are we talking about now? What do we talk about? I need the gossip.
We were talking
So
about a lot.
that is for book club. You'll also be getting a bonus episode this month. For all tiers, you get early access, and for our highest tier members, in case you guys don't know, in our highest tier, you have a secret store that you only have the link to because it is a mystery cult. It's for our highest tier members. We have statues up there that are sourced from Greece that are only available to our high tier members, as well as other products that will be coming. That will be coming to you. Soon. So that's in our highest tier. So check out Patreon. We have a lot of amazing benefits. We do exclusive sales on Patreon. We
Mhm.
love Patreon. We have a great community out there. So shout out to you guys. We love you. Oh, funny thing I have to tell you. I received an email from one of our listeners, clients, and customers
Yes.
today. Um, I did a reading for them and they were like, thanking me for the reading. And they said that they are, since listening to our podcast and following us, they are surpassing all their marks at university in their mythological courses
That's so smart.
because they are listening to Six podcast and they're
Take
like,
that, cottage.
that's right. Well, we literally have you, a college professor, out here.
I was
But
like,
I'm
"Who?
like,
What do I do?"
I'm like, I was like, that's so funny. Like, we are helping the people of the world pass university. Like,
Honestly, not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes we just help you with your mythology exams.
literally, they were like, my grades have been so much better since listening to you guys and like following your content and listening to the podcast. And I'm like, you know what? Look at us. Not only do we run a temple and a podcast and all these things, we are also helping you guys pass school. So I love those emails and thank you so much. Made my
I
day.
love that. Oh my
Made my
god.
day. I hope you get like the highest GPA average and become a valedictorian. They called it uni, so I don't think you live in the United States, and I don't know if they have valedictorians in other countries.
Do they have
It
valedictorian
might
in
be
other
called something
countries?
else. You those of you in other countries, let us know. Let us know in the
I thought
comments.
it was just cum laude, summa cum laude, and magna cum laude.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Clearly, I was not valedictorian in my college ceremony. I went to a
I
big
think
school
they
though.
have valedictorian.
Well, even if in high school, do you have valedictorians?
We did it my graduating year because too many of us had over a 4.0.
Oh, sorry.
We all had like 4.4s to 4.6s. So we just voted on a class speaker.
Interesting. Yeah, we had valedictorians. We didn't have a it was we had two of them. But anyway, okay. Anyway, let us know if you have any of that in other countries. I am curious to know. But before we start today's episode, I just want to do a little promotion for Six and Bones Temple because I'm here to tell you guys, last call for the summer collection because you know why? The temple is boarding up and it's getting ready to welcome Queen Persephone home. So right now we have been hosting and honoring Aphrodite, Apollo, Dionysus in the store with us this summer.
Yes.
We are a seasonal temple. So Hades and Persephone, while it's their temple, they are currently not here because he's too busy. His wife's not home, and she's in the mortal realm, which we've already celebrated Eleusis.
Yes.
So we are getting ready, and I just want to let you know. The stock that is not coming back that we have currently, we fully restocked everything. It's not coming back until the spring, summer. So you got to get it now. Aphrodite,
Hmm.
Apollo,
Yep.
Dionysus,
Hmm.
Siren, the sorceress, which is perfect for today's episode because shout out Circe and her dad
Hey.
Helios. The Luna full moon candle. Guess what? That changes because darker months are ahead of us. We will no longer be hosting these things in the store once they run out of stock. So it's time.
Grab them. Grab them now.
I know everyone's like, I didn't get a siren candle. I'm like, well, we don't do the siren until like maybe spring, summer, definitely.
The summer, definitely. Early spring, possibly. Maybe when the permafrost is still, thawing. I don't know.
But we have so many amazing new things coming to Six and Bones Temple for the fall, and we will be welcoming the King and Queen's return. So get your stuff while you can. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, that was
That's it.
great.
Thanks.
I
Good
can't
having
believe
you.
I can't believe summer's almost over, and like I feel like they just came in, and now it's like while Persephone, we celebrate her being in the mortal realm since spring, bringing about spring with her mother. I'm like, damn, it's already been this long. Like it's already been like coming up on 6 months. I'm like, damn.
It's actually kind of scary. It goes by so fast, and the fall and the winter is our busiest times of year because it is the return of the king and the queen. And you know, me and Ten got to roll out the red carpet. We got to sweep the temple. We got to get this shit rolling. We got to kick everybody out. We're like, Apollo, get out of here. Scram.
Get the broom.
Time to get the broom. Oh my God. Anytime someone like comes at us wrong at the temple, I'm like, Ten, get the broom. And I pretend I have like this jar with like stuff in it and that I shake to scare people away. Like,
I'm sleeping over feet. I'm done.
that's right. Get the broom. We got to kick them out. Not in
Be
Pietà.
gone.
Oh my God. I just forgot we left people hanging on our last episode, which was human sacrifice.
Whoa.
Are you guys okay?
We really woke up one day this hot summer and said, you know what would slap? Human sacrifice.
Like, I was getting so bored of talking about, like, Greek mythology, and I was like, "It's time. We bring it out. Let's talk about the sacrifice to the gods."
Yeah. I mean, that was a fun one. We've been itching to do it for quite some time, but it was always kind of like, how are we gonna approach it in like a
Yeah.
dutiful way, if that makes sense?
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny. It's not. I'm just laughing because it has been a month since we've done an episode, and that was the last one.
We were like, it's barbecue season. Speaking of barbecue, human sacrifice. See you guys in a month.
Cool. Peace out. No, we said, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the Saints episode, and never appeared again.
We really went from human sacrifice to then going to Catholic saints.
Were we the sacrifice? Maybe we got sacrificed, is what people were thinking. The girls got buried in the graveyard in the back of the temple because they looked at Apollo the wrong way.
I'd be giggling. No, it was
Anyway,
wild. It's so funny because anytime I have to cover human sacrifice in like my class and everything. So it's always interesting to like gauge my students' reactions to evidence of human sacrifice when we get to like, evidence of potential cannibalism, like all that kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting. And yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what you guys thought about that episode and like, what do you guys think? Do you think it was considered human sacrifice, or are you kind of with the Romans? I don't know.
I'm never with the Romans. That's all I gotta say. I'm never there. Except spitting black beans at ghosts. I could take that. I could do that. Okay, we should start today's episode. So what inspired today's episode, you may ask? Well, um, I am a girly that loves to worship our good saint, since this is a saint episode, Helios. Saint Helios and Saint Apollo.
Yes, right.
Um, and I just feel like me and Ten, we read Cersei's book, and I'm like, I don't think people actually know enough about Helios. While there is not a lot to talk about,
Correct.
he's in some myths, and you would think being a sun god, he would be so heavily venerated and worshipped. He really wasn't.
No, he like popped in like around, of course, like the Iliad, like with Homer and Hesiod and everything. And then it's like he popped in for like a good amount of stuff and then just like popped out, skedaddled,
Yes.
and then like was considered to be like a minor figure in ancient Greek religion, which is shocking to me because so many
So shocking.
ancient cultures are like solar based.
Yes.
And I was just like coming off of like Dirt Diaries with like Akhenaten in the sun. I'm like, huh, like, why isn't the sun bigger here?
I don't know, and I think the same thing too, because when you look at literally any other ancient civilization, the sun gods are massive, and it's like
Huh.
Helios, he is really important, and he plays an important role because he sides with Zeus and the Olympians over his own, which are the Titans, and he
Yeah.
overthrows them. And it is, in some instances, it's said that like if Zeus didn't have Helios, I don't really know if he would have really won because he's the god of the sun.
Yeah.
So he does play a really important role in mythology, actually, but it's crazy to me that he's not portrayed in such a bigger.
Yeah. It's like he's part of the like creation myths in a
Yeah.
sense, like with the Titanomachy and everything and all of that. But like after the war, he's kind of like, all right, he's like a veteran. He's like, I've served my time. I'll be in retirement if you need me.
Yeah, he kind of just reminds me he'd be like listening to Jimmy Buffett with like a pina colada because he is the sun and like just sitting by the beach, like
Just a pair ahead.
just hanging out. But who is Helios?
Helios, he is Mr. Sunshine, man. He is
Do tell.
the capital THE bold underlined italicized sun. And not to be confused with, Apollo, who has epithets that talk about brightness and shining and all of that kind of stuff. Nay, nay. Helios, our boy, is the sun. Much like his siblings, Selene, who is the moon, and Eos, who is the dawn. Like, these are personifications
Yeah.
of cosmic celestial events. Like, he is the personification. And in different Homeric hymns, he is known as the tireless Helios because he's driving his chariot every single day, bringing sun to all of the inhabitants. And he's basically tireless Helios, who is like the deathless gods, which deathless gods, I love when it's used in Homeric hymns because, to my knowledge, like deathless gods refers to the primordial god. So who came out of that like
Mhm.
cataclysmic, mythological Big Bang in a sense, because it showcases power, position, and respect. And to be compared to like the primordials, probably one of the highest of highs.
Right.
And it's so interesting because in the hymn to Demeter, Hades brings that up to Persephone in what you could call his vows to her, where he says, "You will have power and position amongst the deathless gods." So it's reaffirming power, position, and respect, which is
Mhm.
just so cool. So, like, he is somebody. So he rides his chariots and he shines upon men and deathless gods. And piercingly, he gazes with his eyes from his golden helmet. Bright rays beam dazzlingly from him, and his bright locks streaming from the temples of his head gracefully enclose his far seen face. A rich, fine spun garment glows upon his body and flutters in the wind, and stallions carry him. Then, when he has stayed his golden yoked chariot and horses, he rests there upon the highest point of heaven until he marvelously drives them down again through heaven to Okeanos. So, from heaven to the oceans, he is just bringing about sunshine. Like, eh,
I think it's
how,
beautiful.
how he's described, it's literally like he is heaven's light,
Yeah,
which
100%.
he is the offspring of Thea, which is like sight and light and everything. And it's just like, it's just gorgeous.
His depictions too in some artwork, that I've seen, it's just you can just envision that, you know what I mean? That's why I love that writing because like, you can envision he's golden, he's sparkling, he's shining, he's got big booming presence and energy, right? Like, he's probably just, like, this big booming just, like, you know when you think of God, like, when you were little and you would think of God speaking to you, that's what I think of Helios as, like, coming from the top and being like, "Hello, child," like, "I am the sun," like, that's literally how they describe him.
Yeah, like flames, gold, like
You know, when you're
every
like, "Does God exist?" And you hear like, "The hello, I am here."
be not afraid.
Yeah, like that kind of energy. That's exactly how they portray him.
Right? But what's interesting is while he is like the sun, he's also considered to be a god of sight.
Yes.
So he gives sight if one is blinded. He's very benevolent. He's very beloved. But he also causes blindness, which kind of makes sense like in a scientific way if you're thinking about like why don't we stare at the sun today? It's because you're gonna hurt yourself kind of deal. Like,
Mhm.
especially with the recent eclipse that happened, it was like, do not look at the sun unless you got your safety glasses because you will hurt your eyeballs. Like, and that is permanent damage.
Yeah, absolutely. You should just not straight stare at the sun. That's crazy, especially during eclipse.
But you're like, it's so beautiful, but we can't see it without being blinded.
I know, it kinda sucks when someone tells you not to do that. Like, I during the eclipse, when I watched it with my parents, when you have that thought in the back of your head, you're like, "Just take the glasses off. Just do it. It's just what's gonna happen to you.
Just do it.
Just do it." I had to, like, fight myself. I'm like, "Chelsea, you're gonna blind yourself. You
I
can't
remember
do that."
I was up on the roof and I was looking for it because it was super cloudy here.
Yeah.
And I saw it for a brief second, but he didn't have my glasses on, and I was like, "I'm gonna go blind."
I know, I know. Meanwhile, I'm like, "Just do it," and Ten's like, "I gotta cover my face." I'm like, "Just
I'm, like,
look."
blinking a lot. I was like, "Oh my god, my eyes, like, I'm blind."
Well, then I heard too that during the eclipse season, they were selling knockoff NASA-approved glasses to people online on Amazon, and I was like, "That you deserve literally to be in Tartarus if you are that person," because people were, like, hurting themselves.
God,
So
that
my mom bought these glasses from Amazon. I kept checking to make sure it was NASA approved. I'm like, "I'm not gonna be the one that
ain't
gets
gonna
scammed."
catch me.
Scammers get scammed. It's not gonna be me.
And yeah, like, so many, people, scientists say, like, you can never look at it, but we're never able to see it, but we always enjoy, like, its rewards of like plants growing, like it like nourishes, it makes you warm, like it's just a beautiful sunny day, like all of that kind of stuff. So while Helios moves throughout the sky and brings it from dusk to day, he in a sense illuminates the world, allowing those to see what they could not at night. So I feel like sight is kind of like twofold with him.
Right.
And sight is also even more than just that, which I know you're gonna dive into right now.
Helios the snitch, as I like to call him. Um, but I'm gonna leave this up to you guys. What do you think Helios is? Do you think he's a snitch? Do you think he's doing good? And I mean this with all due respect to the great sun god Helios. But I do have two instances in mythology where Helios actually tattles on some of the Olympian gods. So, as Tendra said, Helios is the god of the sun. And what does he do? He sees everything. He's sitting up in the sky. He's pulling his chariot. He is seeing all the things that are happening across the world because he is the sun. Now, I'm not going to read you this myth, but it's an infamous myth here at Sticks and Bones. It is the hymn to Demeter. And I'm not reading it. I'll be honest with you. We still have not read this. We won't read it. I
The
won't quote
him
it.
that shall not be
I'm too tired of it. And if you don't know what the hymn to Demeter is, it is the story of the abduction of Persephone. So when Hecate, the one time we actually see her in mythology, we have a course on that, by the way. If you are interested, the Hecate course, I highly suggest you buy it because it illuminates who Hecate actually is. But the one instance we do see her in mythology, she is looking for Persephone because she was kidnapped by the god of the underworld, yada yada. Who does she go to ask where Persephone is? Because they have no idea where she went. She was just picking flowers one day and then she's gone.
on trash.
Literally, mystery, no evidence left. Hecate asks the sun, Helios, because he sees everything. And he is the one that tells on King Hades. He literally said, yeah, I saw her. King Hades took her.
I'd do it again.
He abducted her. He just sitting there. Yeah, the King Hades did it. And I'm like, what's interesting to me is and we're gonna read another myth about Aphrodite and Ares, which is also another well-known one, that the Olympians have all the power in this instance, and I find it so funny that he just tattles on them. It's like they're always trying to keep balance between the Titans and the Olympians because if you know of the Great War that happened, and I'm like, I just think it's so funny that he's just like, yeah, I know who did it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it was one of the three kings. And I'm like, was Hades mad at him? Like, I don't know. Like, I wonder these things. Of
Yeah,
like,
I don't know
why'd you do that?
because it's like, well, if it was legal, i.e., Zeus allowed it, like, was he really
True.
snitching? Was he really snitching? Or was it eventually going to be public knowledge?
Or
Like,
why didn't he come forward with this information sooner is another thing. I'm like, they're looking for her and he just didn't say anything.
I mean, that's true, but maybe they didn't have the ancient Bolo be on the lookout for Persephone.
I don't know. I don't know. But this second one, this one is less Helios being asked and more Helios being a snitch, actually.
Helios
So
being Helios.
so Helios was drawing his chariot across the sky, and I'm condensing this myth, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And he noticed that Aphrodite, who was the wife of Hephaestus at the time, if you know Greek mythology, you know, she was having an affair with the god of war, Ares. Okay, so she's
Mm-mm-mm.
married to Hephaestus and she's sleeping with Ares. She's like, I don't like Hephaestus. He's ugly. Girl, I get it.
My man's a soldier.
Yeah, he's a god of war. I get it. Helios sees this and he immediately tells Hephaestus. So he's like snitching on Aphrodite. I don't know why he did this. It doesn't turn out well for him in the end.
No.
Hephaestus is a master craftsman, and he was able to basically get revenge on Aphrodite. He wove a net so fine that it was invisible to the naked eye, which he spread across his bed. The next time Aphrodite and Ares went to lie together, he caught them in a net and displayed them to ridicule them in front of all of the gods, which
Naked.
straight up naked, you know, that's like when your parents are walking in on you, you know what I mean? Like that's or your partner who you're cheating with, they walk in on you, like, I don't even know what I would do.
I don't know. But to be caught like that, like, I bye. I die.
So, it gets worse. So, Aphrodite is now holding Helios responsible for her humiliation because she's like, "You humiliated me, you snitched on me, like, what did I do to you? Do we have beef or something, I guess? Like, what is this?"
Yeah.
And Greek gods love drama, like, they love it. They love all of this stuff. They can't stop. They never live in
Every
peace.
No, the Titans and the Olympians is like every reunion of Real Housewives. Truly.
Yes. And so Aphrodite really blames this all on Helios. And so depending on the myth that you're reading, um we did talk about this with the Pasiphae one that she does curse and punish his descendants. And one of them is Pasiphae, who's in the Circe book that we just read, to fall in love with the Cretan bull, which is the Minotaur. That's where that comes from. Another one is causing Helios' granddaughter Phaedra to fall in love with her stepson Hippolytus, or by causing Helios's own tragic affair with, can't pronounce this, Leucothoe. So that ends in him falling in love with I believe a mortal princess, and then Aphrodite like causes him to go into an obsession, and then the mortal princess winds up dying, and he's like grieving her. So there's three different instances of punishment depending on the myth, and Aphrodite did not was like, you humiliated me, now I'm gonna ruin you in love. I'm cursing your kids, their kids, everybody after that, your whole line, never gonna find love.
She's playing the long game. Maybe it's maybe it's an Olympian thing, playing the long game.
Yeah, and if you've been here with us for a while and we've talked about Wrath of the Gods, they do it to each other too. So I don't know why. I don't know if he wanted to stir the pot, but I'm like, why are you messing with the Olympians? He literally tattled on her.
Uh, like, I just don't know because okay, you got that over kind of like band-aid quick, whatever. You humiliated the goddess of love and the god of war. Congratulations. But now there's going to be a ripple effect.
Yeah, so Pasiphae, which depending on the myth, like I said, it's said that Aphrodite's the one that cursed her. So,
Yes.
and
So
10
then
talks about that in the
Pasiphae becomes the mother of monsters by bearing the Minotaur, which
right.
like how is that on your family looking if it's that story of like your daughter slept with a bull and created this monster,
Yeah.
Mr. Sun?
Who is Hippolytus? The son of Theseus. Oh, see, I sometimes don't know people. There's so many myths.
There's so many myths, and then Phaedra falls in love with Hippo Hippolytus. Is that what you said?
Hippolytus, yeah.
So she is, I think, a second wife of Theseus.
Okay.
I want to say that, which you're basically just that entire myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. Everybody's not coming out of that myth unscathed. Like everybody's getting shot. Like that myth is very Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's really bad. And so I guess she falls in love with Hippolytus, which is Theseus's son. So, and that's her husband.
I believe so.
Yikes. Literally yikes. Yeah, Hippolytus' stepmother falls in love with him. Oh, and then he rejects Phaedra's advances, setting events in motions that lead to his death and a fall from his chariot.
Yes,
Yikes.
because I'm pretty sure she Phaedra tells Theseus or tells somebody that he assaults her.
Yeah,
So
so it's
it's
her
just
stepson. This is her stepson, that Aphrodite curse, and this is a daughter of Helios. So
like they're all just going at it, and it's just like, wow, I think I'd rather just be a craftsperson, like left alone.
she actually, so I was just reading that Phaedra falls in love with him so hard that she actually, trigger warning, ends her own life because she
Yes.
cannot bear it. And then she probably winds up in the fields of mourning.
Oh, probably.
Oh my God. This, do you see what I mean though with the gods? Like we've been saying, like okay, she curses Phaedra, but no, it's like a whole entire ripple effect that other people get dragged into. And it's like, was it worth it to snitch on her at this point? I don't know. Jeez.
These gods playing the long game. It's the Olympians who play the long game.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I'm like, shit. Anyway, so that's we call him the all-seeing Helios for that reason, and there are many more instances in mythology where he is like giving up information because people are seeking him for that kind of information.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is makes sense because Helios is also one of the original gods evoked in oaths. He is a god heavily associated with oaths. He is not a god of oaths, that is like a daemone in the underworld, and also the river Styx as a
Mhm.
personification also has very, very heavy ties to oaths because of the role that she played, allowing her children to go fight for Zeus, like Nike and all of that kind of stuff. So she was rewarded by Zeus to say, hey, because of the role that you played, I'm going to have everybody swear oaths upon you. But because of the role Helios played in the war, he's also evoked alongside of Zeus and Gaia to be witnesses to oaths going as far back as the Iliad. So it
It's
was
crazy.
basically the hero saying, hey, we swear upon these three, along with doing animal sacrifices, to say, we will honor the outcome of this war. We will honor the outcome of certain battles. Like, we're not going to, stipulate what's going on, which is really, really interesting because he's seeing everything. So you're having a live witness to things. You want that to happen because then Helios, as kind of like the all seeing one, can enforce in a sense of, I am a
Yes.
witness because you broke the oath. I now have to let so and so, like the Furies or somebody, come and claim what's theirs because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain, which is so interesting.
But it once again, it really does make sense because I would never ever think, and I don't know if this is in other religions as well, where the sun god is the one that's like the oath keeper, and it in certain instances it makes so much sense because they see everything because they're in the
Mm-hmm.
sky.
Yup. And he is evoked to watch over oaths, but many times, due to the dictation, he's really just the witness. He's kind of like who you're swearing, like if you're going to court, like who you're swearing to and being like,
Yes.
I promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Like instead of putting your hand on a Bible, like you're putting your hand on Helios and being like,
So help me,
go
Helios.
help me, Helios, basically.
Yeah.
And this is really interesting because it fits well with an understanding of what was going on in Greece at the time, which is with public courts in Athens, there was such an importance placed on witnesses and understanding that there was also an ease of bringing in a false witness forward. So much so that it was the son, Helios, who was seen as the ideal, uncorruptible witness of what was considered to be a subjective truth.
Interesting.
Right?
Very interesting.
It's so interesting to see how he fits in with that, which, and then I was thinking about Styx being associated with oaths. So it's almost like him being in the sky and her in the underworld. It's like you have the highest of high and the lowest of low bearing witness to oaths.
It's really cool, honestly. Like I think this stuff is so fascinating. Like people are like, "Oh, Helios is just the god of the sun." No, there's so much more depth. Even though he wasn't so heavily worshipped, there you have to understand the personalities of these gods, the things that they're associated with, and you really tend to understand them more. And then you can like make associations like Helios the snitch. Like just a little funny joke, but it's funny. It's funny. It's like
Yeah.
that's what he
And
does.
a lot of the cultic altars to him, especially on the island of Rhodes, scholars believe that that's where people swore oaths upon.
I mean, I want to go there and swear an oath. I don't know for no reason. Like, let me swear an oath.
Like I feel
Let's
like
go.
it's almost like if you were swearing an oath on, Helios or even Styx, you were doing like an unbreakable bond kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Just just to make sure everybody was dotting their I's and crossing their T's, like nobody was getting out of this, like legally.
I mean, and if you're gonna swear an oath on the personification of something and that's considered a god and divine power, it's like, so help you God, literally. Like, don't do that unless you actually mean it. Don't do
Like,
that.
don't do that unless you mean it. And then like to swear upon it or just like be informed thusly leads us to our next point with freaking Odysseus and the cattle of Helios. Because
Shout out Odysseus.
my brother in Helios, you were warned thusly about what was going to happen.
To be fair though, I don't think it's Odysseus's fault. And do you want to tell the rendition of this myth? Because I'm happy with that.
I'll start. If I miss anything, please take it from me.
It's a very short myth, Tan. I don't think you're gonna miss anything.
Okay. So this is coming from the Odyssey because remember, for everybody, the Odyssey comes after the Iliad. It's about Odysseus's travels home. Anywho, so the ghost Tiresias, he warns Odysseus. There's a lot of necromancy in this book. He's warning
Read
Odysseus.
Cersei. Read Cersei from book club. I swear to God, all of this is in it. And
Yes.
listening to this episode, you're going to be like, oh my God, this was in the book. It's a real myth. Anyway, go ahead.
So the ghost of Tiresias is warning Odysseus about basically the trials and tribulations that he's going to have to go through to get home to Attica I'm sorry, to Ithaca, to his wife Penelope, right? And he basically is giving him this warning that, like, you and your men are trying to reach home, but you're going to have to go through miserable times. And you really have to watch not only yourself, but your crew members basically like appetites. And you're probably like, well, what does that mean? Like appetites? And you're like, well, people get hungry on the way home. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, it's like years they're traveling, by the way. They're not just there in a week. Like Odysseus
No,
has been
10
gone
years.
for like 20 years away from his wife and fighting the war, and then he gets stuck with Calypso, and then he meets Circe, and now he's trying to get home. Like
He's just a man who didn't want to ask for directions.
he's just the man that had the favor of Athena, and Athena loves a good game. Like loves a good battle.
So he's basically saying, like, hey, you're gonna leave the Stark Ocean, you're gonna like take it right here, you're gonna take it the first left here, you're gonna pass this, you're gonna do this. And he's like, okay, I got you. But then Tiresias looks at him and says, hey, after you go through all of this, you're gonna find sheep and cattle grazing on this island. And it's gonna look real nice and serene. But you need to not touch these animals. If you set your mind only to return, all of you will reach Ithaca. But if any of you harm them, well, good luck, because you know who owns these? The all seeing
No.
Helios. So,
Helios has a thing with his sacred cattle. It is the one.
yes.
It's funny because in the Cersei book, he loves his cattle more than he loves his children, and I truly kind of feel like that's the vibe. Even in the mythology, is like he's in love with his cattle. Like these are his precious.
He took a
These,
hobby a little too far.
yeah, he's a retired singing Jimmy Buffett on the island with his cattle, and he this is his hobby now. Leave him alone. Go ahead.
And because Helios at this point, he's not exactly buddy buddy with Zeus, but him and Zeus are on good standings. He has a pact with Zeus that says, if anybody touches these, you are to smite them down.
God.
Can we guess what happens?
It never wins. People never win in mythology. There's never like maybe there's like one instance of a win happening. You're like, oh, that was nice, but never.
Mhm.
Achilles.
So his herd had been harmed. And what do you know? He went stimp stomping all the way to Zeus to complain about this man Odysseus and his goddamn crew of ragtags and said, hey, you need to fix this. So what does Zeus do? As promised, he destroyed the ship with a thunderbolt, and only Odysseus survived.
Yeah, so Odysseus was the only one that didn't touch the cattle. If you're like, why did Odysseus live? He literally fell asleep and this man's exhausted. Like he's trying to get home to his wife. It's been 20 years. He has a son at home. Like they literally rule a land. He's trying to get back and he falls asleep and his men in the middle of the night go there and he said, "Don't touch the cattle." And they're like young men. You have to think about men going to war in this time period. They're literally like 14, 15, like 16 years old. Some of them are a little bit older, but they're children. We would classify them as now.
Children. And Odysseus is the only like parent supervising them.
Yes, and they eat one of the cattle because they were starving, and basically Zeus wipes them out except Odysseus because Odysseus was the only one that didn't partake in it. So he has to go home by himself. And he has to go home now and tell the fathers, the mothers, the brothers, the sisters, the family of these boys that they got literally killed by the gods.
They got
He was
got.
trying to get them home safely from war.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're landing on this island and he's like, I just got to close my eyes for a second.
Dad needs to take a nap. I'm just resting my eyes, and the kids fucked up.
Literally.
Like I, how do you even like? I feel bad, but it's also like he informed them thusly. Like you had help from the other side with Tiresias being like, "Hey, don't do this," and he's like, "Gotcha, message received." And then what do? They do it.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to feel bad because I know that it was explained to them that they were Helios's sacred cattle, and why would you ever try it? Like, I just wouldn't.
Also, like if I was in a Greek epic and I came across like the super serene island, I don't think I would touch anything. I don't think I would disembark from the ship. I think I would sit there and just gnaw on the wood.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah,
Not
it's
getting
just
off the
like there's
ship.
just like all these perfect cattle that they were untouched. It's like they're there for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good.
You're gonna have to tie me to the mast like Odysseus with the sirens. You're gonna have to do that to me.
Yeah, but like I said, Odysseus is really seen as like a benevolent god, but there are things that you just don't do. And it's like really in these instances of wrath, it's like you poked the sun. Like you poked the bear, you stared at the sun and you got blinded.
You, you poked the sun and the solar flare came out and just wiped your ass out.
Yeah, you were told not to do these things. So yeah, what I love about the Circe book, and I'm gonna keep talking about it because I finished it.
Mhm.
Is that they make mention to all of these amazing, amazing Greek myths. And I love the Odysseus, the Helios of it all. And if you are thinking of reading the book and you've just listened to this episode, you're like, now I have the backstory. I get it.
I get it.
I freaking get
It's
it.
it's like you get a whiff or a hint of Greek mythology and you're like, I get it. I get why people love it.
That's why I was screeching reading the second half because I was like, oh my God, it's Odysseus. I'm not giving anything away, by the way. If you know Circe, she's tied to Odysseus. So, like, obviously he's part of the book. Come
Yeah,
on.
like this is not
I'm not
spoiler.
I'm not spoiling. Don't be like Chelsea's doing spoilers. Let me tell you something.
Greek mythology spoilers.
It's Greek mythology. It's out there. It's been out there for 1,000 of years. What's the statutory on that? Statutory limit on that
Yeah,
one. It's
right.
like, what's the spoiler? Like, can I spoil
I
it?
call it by like Rome.
Like, what what's the limit on that of like what I shouldn't say the ending? So yeah, I just the sacred cattle were in it and I was giggling. I was like, I know what happens with this.
Tee-hee.
Tee tee. Is there anything else we had to say? Oh, we wanted to talk about Apollo a little bit with
Oh yeah, I love
brief mention because
honorable mention. I love anytime there's talk about the sun in Greek mythology, Roman mythology. Oh, and then I have an extra point that just reminded me at the end. Is Apollo Apollon wanting to be called like the sun? And I think it becomes from his forename of Phoebus Apollo,
Mhm.
which just means like bright, shining one. And he does get solar aspects,
Like Hecate with her lunar aspects.
much like his sister Artemis gets lunar
Yes.
aspects, much like his sister Diana in the Roman pantheon gets lunar aspects. These
Yes.
gods develop associations. So while he is, the god of oracles, prophecy, plague, and more, I would say like there's a subcategory in Greek mythology to Greek gods of you could be god of X, but you can have associations to Y and Z.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whereas Helios is the sun, but he might have associations to crazy other things as well, like to sight. He has associations to oaths, like all of this kind of stuff. So I would definitely like think about that because man, in the past we've gotten some pushback on like when we say Apollo's not the sun.
Someone tried to rip me to shreds on the internet because I said that. I'm gonna bring it out there because this is like I'm gonna bring it out again. The one time I said Hades, we said Hades has a wrathful side and people were clutching their pearls. It's like this is why it's important to study these things and understand the differences because if you're going to the sun and you want to worship the sun and you're worshiping Apollo, you're offending the Titan Helios over here. He is the sun,
Yes.
the literal sun and the personification. If you're like, I want to worship the personification of the sun, you shouldn't be worshiping Apollo for that.
No. No.
This is why you gotta
Boys,
know these things. I say these things because we love you.
boys got attributes. Boy ain't the sun.
No, he's not the sun.
No, but
So
it's so interesting to see that. So yeah, definitely think about that. Also, with like Greek mythology, like there's so much overlap. Don't get like take a break. You don't have to know everything. As we just said, Chelsea was talking about in one instance with the myth concerning Aphrodite, there's three possible endings from how many different overlapping myths.
no, the point of mythology is one, to understand the gods, and
Mhm.
two, to understand the lesson. It's not always like, yeah, there's three different endings, and I love the fact that there's three different endings. And we talk about Wrath of the Gods, and we mentioned multiple endings to the stories, but the point of the story stays the same. It's like doesn't matter what the ending is.
Nope.
It's the point of the story was don't steal the sacred cattle and don't eat them on the island when you were told not to. And they made it easy for you that you were able to perform necromancy. They let a shade up from the underworld to tell you this because you have the favor of Athena. And granted, it wasn't Odysseus's fault, but these
But
men were stupid. So yeah, it's really interesting. Because Apollo, people always want to say Apollo is the sun. It's no, he has solar aspects.
mhm.
Don't get it twisted. It's like that's like saying Hecate is the goddess of the moon. I see that a lot. Incorrect. She has lunar aspects. Selene is the personification of the moon, or Luna in the Roman world is the personification of the moon. So
Mhm.
just understand that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and understand, why was Apollo so big compared to Helios? Like, I said earlier, like, he was a small figure in ancient Greek religion, but he actually picks up importance, I would say, as we get from, like, Hellenistic periods, like Alexander the Great time, to Rome, where
With soul.
he becomes equated with the
Yeah.
Roman god Sol. But what's interesting, and this is my final point I wanted to bring up, is that both sun gods, Sol, Helios, because it's kind of hard to tell in artwork, they actually gain extra traction with the cult of Mithras, but they also gain more traction because of Jesus Christ.
Oh.
So there is a catacomb. Well, there's a lot of catacombs and the necropolis underneath St. Peter's Basilica that somebody was trying to do some like floor restoration work, fell through the floor. They fell through a ceiling into this tomb,
Oh my God.
and
That's my dream.
it's from, I think, 300s, I want to say. Anyway, there's a beautiful mosaic in this tomb, and it's believed to either be Sol, Helios, or Apollo, or Jesus Christ represented as the Son of God, not Son as in you're my baby boy, SON, as the Son, SUN of God, because there is one epithet or a few of them in the Bible that mentions Jesus as that. So
That's
it
really cool.
was believed that it's called the Julie tomb, that this older pagan family had this tomb at one point, and then they either all died out or they sold the tomb to somebody else, and this new family who bought it was like, wow, I it's great artwork, it resonates with me because of Jesus Christ or Apollo or Sol or anything, and it's so cool to see similar iconography being used and still beloved by different religions.
That's why I always say we are so much more same than we are different. And people love that's why we were doing the saint episode. This is our saint episode, Saint Helios and Saint Apollo. Um, People love the comparisons between Christianity and then like Hellenic polytheism. And it's like we're really not that different. A lot of our beliefs inspire some of the artwork that you find in Catholicism. We talked about the cult of Mithras and his story inspiring the resurrection story of Christ, possibly. And it's not taking from, it's not stealing. It's being like, wow, your gods do this. I really love that. My God also is the sun to me as well. It is the brightest star in the sky.
Mhm.
And so it's not that weird. And I always think it's weird when people try to make it like, oh, it's always, Catholics versus pagans or Christians versus pagans. And it's like, it's really not like that. It doesn't have to be like that ever.
No, I mean the history is rough, don't get me wrong,
Of
but
course.
um when you break it down to our ways of worship, all of that kind of stuff, it's so much similar. And I mean, I always say it that Christianity, I teach it as a mystery cult since it does fit the four tenets, but it's
Yeah.
like it's very similar to, every other cult that we've talked about, Eleusis, the cult of Isis. Hopefully one day we'll do the cult of Mithras like in depth because that one's a wild one.
Yeah, and like what I meant by that was, yeah, obviously don't the history is terrible, but we don't have to repeat history. We can live alongside one another and appreciate each other's belief systems. I see that all the time of like
Mhm.
people just shitting on people and being like Christianity stole this and that. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. I get the history, I understand it, but also they're people with beliefs as well, and it didn't originate that way. Okay? So, I think we need more kindness in the world, even if someone's I get the crazy Christians in the comments that tell me I'm going to hell every day or
Yeah.
that my idols are fake. I'm not fighting with them, I don't care.
You should say, well, hell only was a concept at the beginning in this year.
You know what I say when they say this to me? They say, "You're going to hell." I'm like, "My gods do not punish for the same thing you think." Like, I'm not going to Tartarus because I lied. You know what I mean? Like, I think like Hades
Going
has
to
better
Tartarus if I trap the god of death in a
in a
pit
jar.
boy.
Like, this is how you know we're going to Tartarus is like, I break an oath or something that I had, or I steal the sacred cattle off the island. I'm getting smited by Zeus. But that's I knew that. I shouldn't have done that. There was conditions laid out for me.
Yes.
I put my hand on the stove and went, "Well, why'd I get burned?" So that's fine if you guys believe in that, but I don't think Hades is punishing me because I lied to my mom. In judgment in the underworld, he's gonna be like, don't care. Probably
Who
had a good
hasn't?
reason.
Who hasn't? Am I right?
Yeah. Anyway, carry on, child.
I mean, he would probably be like, my mom lied to
My
her
dad
husband.
ate me.
My dad ate me, first of all. But my mom lied and gave my father a boulder swaddled so it would look like my brother Zeus, and he inhaled that. So, like, I mean, you're amongst the winners down here.
I think about that all the time when people are like, "You're going to hell for this," and I'm like, no, my gods actually don't care about those things. I'm sorry that you guys do because that's fun, but like,
It's fun.
but I get it. You have rules and regulations outlined for you. I listen. I understand.
Yeah, gotta follow the rules. Them's the rules. You guys got 10 of them.
I can't approach my altar with Dorito bloody hands because then I'd be in trouble.
Dorito bloody.
I think it's like one
Are you
episode
eating Doritos?
because one episode we mentioned that like don't go to the altar with like Dorito cheese dust hands, and I just combined both things together. Of like,
Yeah, why did I pick Dorito? Because it's like one of the ones that like you see the most. So like you're gonna have those like orange fingerprints all over.
no, literally for sure. Okay, I think we're losing it a little bit. We gotta end the podcast. It's hot. Speaking of the sun, it's going down. It's
Speaking of the
hot.
sun, Helios is cooking us.
What have we done? I have no cattle. I'm vegetarian.
No cattle here, my good sir.
No, there
But
isn't. Well, sorry for the month off. We needed it. But if you want more from us, you can always join our Patreon. I'm just plugging it all episode long. Patreon.
Patreon, maybe we'll talk more about human sacrifice over there. But wow, what a break from human sacrifice to the god of the sun. Truly keeping you guys on your toes.
We were supposed to talk about Saints. That's the funniest thing ever. And we'll see you in 2 weeks for Saints. And we never showed up again. And everyone was like, did they become the human sacrifice?
They may have. They might
No,
have.
might have.
No, we said we're gonna leave them with human sacrifice, come back with the sun, and talk about one of the most feared goddesses of sorcery. And we said, tee hee, hi to tiddly tee. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Literally. Also, before you end this podcast, I
Yes,
just want
yes.
to say hi. There's a lot of you that are new that have found us. I know because you tell me. And hello, welcome to Sticks and Bones. Entry place. Hello, goodbye. Okay, you have to take us out. We need to go lay down.
Take me home, country road.
I ordered Greek food while we were recording.
That's a good idea.
That's right.
But with that being a good idea, it's a good idea to end right here because we will just keep going on and on about Greek mythology until Helios drags his chariot across the night sky and his sister gives us the night. But with that being said, don't forget to join Patreon once again for book club with
Mhm.
Circe. We're finishing it off this month. And to get a head start on Medusa's Sisters, which we are starting in September, we will give you guys the outline of what chapters we're focusing on. So that is coming out soon. We're happy to be back. Hope you guys have missed us. Hope you guys have caught up on human sacrifice. What are your opinions on it? Do you like the sun Helios? What's your opinion on Apollo? Any other questions you got? All of those will be answered and more, hopefully next time on Sticks and Bones. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.